The biggest lie society has reinforced in us, as pretty women specifically, is that you need to fit into a specific mold or follow a particular path in order to succeed or achieve ultimate happiness. Firstly, happiness is not a destination. The whole beauty of life is the changes that come with it, the ebbs and the flows. If you are constantly happy, you're not going to know what happiness actually is, because that's going to be your constant. You have nothing to compare it to if you're always happy. The yin and the yang. The only reason why we know what good is because there's bad to contrast it, right? Secondly, the whole point of capitalism is for people to be sheep. Like literally, when I studied sociology and I studied Marxism, and I realized how much society actually socializes us to be complacent and compliant. They don't want you to rock the boat or question things, because it will actually unveil how deeply flawed and selfish the system actually is. Okay, so they want to feed you with all these lies of like, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, fit into the mold, don't talk back, be complacent, be quiet, be meek as a woman, because they don't want you to see past their lies. They don't want you to see past the flaws in the system. They want you to be obedient so you can be a revolving cog in their machine and constantly work for them. Think about it. Think about why machinery is so like precise, because everything needs to be similar for it to work and function optimally. If the cog is shaped, if every cog is shaped uniquely, it's not going to be able to function. So it needs to be the exact same replica in order for it to function optimally. And if I was to use this analogy to describe capitalism and society, they don't want you to be your unique self, because then you don't function, you don't fit the mold that they have already placed within their system. Okay, so if you are, a sheep, and you are basically accepting the dehumanization that capitalism and society places on you, you're not going to question anything. You're going to be obedient. You're going to be a yes person. Because think about it. Like, for example, a gun is going to fire regardless of who's wielding it or what it's being used for. It doesn't know how to differentiate between right or wrong. It doesn't have discernment. It also can't make its own decisions. And that's what they want you to be. They want you to be a machine. And this is why embracing your authentic self will be your greatest blessing, not only for you to achieve your ultimate peace of mind, but also for you to achieve liberation, for you to achieve your free will. Hello, pretty girl alumni. Welcome to the lesson. Class is in session. Grab some snacks, some tea, anything to keep you company, and welcome to the first installment of Deconstructing Pretty Politics. And if I had to summarize what this series is about, it's essentially revealing the truth behind the socialization of young pretty women and older pretty women alike. So I find that young pretty women and older pretty women face different socialization because of, ageism and infantilization and all the things that come with society and how they view women. So I am going to make a differentiation, but for the first one, I think it's pretty much applies to everyone. It is why cultivating your authentic self will be your greatest asset. So this actually stemmed from the interview where I saw Sweetie talking about pretty punishment, and then there was this whole discourse on the internet, and basically some people were agreeing, some people were disagreeing. I saw more disagreement than agreement, and that's fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, but I just wanted to add more nuance to that conversation of pretty punishment. Okay, so I do believe that pretty punishment is a thing. I think it's the counter to pretty privilege, and I truly believe that everything has a counter. There is nothing where it's 100% pro. Everything has a negative side to it, even privileges. Even being rich has a con of you might be at risk of people taking advantage of you. You might feel more isolated because you can't relate to normal human experiences. You might feel lonely. Same thing with education. Like, yes, education is a privilege, and being educated is a privilege. You get good work, you're able to move logically in life, but also the counter to that, and this is actually a proven psychological fact, is that there is a high correlation between intelligent people or highly educated people and depression, because the more educated you are, the more you realize how messed up the world is, and the more you are able to detect things. When they say ignorance is bliss, yeah, that is what they mean. And I have experienced this firsthand. Like, the more knowledgeable I became about things, like different aspects of life, like the corporate world, society, psychology, everything, it just made me more and more and more of a misanthrope. Like I said in my video about the power of a misanthropic woman, is that you are able to see things and you can't unsee it, and that's the unfortunate side about it. So pretty punishment to me is a real thing. It is the counter to pretty privilege, and it stems from people being envious of pretty privilege, and they retaliate by doing stuff like deciding when you get to succeed, how you get to succeed, tearing you down, and doing all the things that I basically discussed that pretty women face. I talked about this in my first video where I spoke about the reality of pretty privilege, and that was basically exploring the different ways pretty punishment can manifest itself. But today I want to touch on the pretty punishment, and I want to expand on that. And I think this correlates so well with why you need to cultivate your authentic self, because I think with pretty punishment, it works really well if you're a carbon copy of something, because then they have something to compare you with. And remember that comparison is the biggest thief of joy. So the reason why they set beauty standards and they set all these unrealistic standards for pretty women is because they want you to fall for that trap, and they want you to follow it so that they have something to measure you up against. Now you're playing their game and you're falling into their metrics of what beauty is. Whereas if you are your authentic self, they don't have anything to compare you with. Genetically speaking, there is no one with the exact same coding in history from the beginning of the Homo sapien race. Even our common ancestors, there is no one with the exact same coding. By every scientific measure, you are unique. All right, even though we share 99.9% of DNA, that 0.1% is all the difference that you need. Right? No one has the exact same fingerprint. You are so unique down from your fingerprint to your genetic coding, So once you start cultivating your authentic self, they have nothing to compare you to. So that's why they want you to fall into the standards, because they want you to be ranked by them, and they want to be able to give you your success and simultaneously take it away. Okay, so I'm going to be exploring the 4 or 5 reasons, I'm not sure how many I have yet, as to why you need to cultivate your authentic self, and why your true self is your greatest asset. Number one, as I touched on previously, it sets you apart, okay? You are so rare, okay? Think of the rarest gemstone you know. I'll give you a second. Now, imagine its value. Imagine how much it's worth in currency. Yeah, you're probably thinking of millions of dollars or pounds. You are more rarer than that gemstone. And you want to know why? Because that gemstone doesn't have mortality. It's going to be here for thousands of years, even millennials. You aren't. You are here for such a short snippet of time. That's how rare you are. You're going to be here for, I'm not sure what the mortality rate is anymore. I haven't researched it. But even the mortality rate is a generalization, because every single day, thousands, millions of people die way below their mortality rate or the expected mortality rate. So how rare are we? Like literally, we are so rare. So literally no one can give you a step-by-step guide on how to live your life. Even in psychology, we learn that human science is one of the hardest things to study because of how unique humans are. It's so hard to make a generalized theory because it might apply to this person, but because there are so many variables that go into the human experience, that theory might be correct 80% of the time, but there's always going to be that leeway that it's not going to apply to everyone. It's not like physics. It's not a constant thing, okay? And this is why it's essential for you to cultivate your authentic self, so you know what works for you and what doesn't. No one can tell you who you are besides you, okay? And people that fit into this mold, quite frankly, will live a mediocre life. They will have mediocre experiences in society. And looking at the way society is, that's not a good place to be. The average person, statistically, if depending on which country you look at and which economy you look at, but on a general standpoint, like globally, the average person is living above their means. They cannot afford their daily lifestyle. They are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to get all their needs met, settling for unhappy relationships, working a job they don't like in order to survive. So why do you want to fit into that mold? Is that what you aspire for yourself? I don't want you to aspire for that. I want you to dream big. And I don't care if anyone says, oh, well, it's unrealistic for everyone to dream big because we can't all be celebrities. We can't all be successful. We can't all be. And those are the types of people that stay with mediocre experiences. It's that mentality. It's, oh, we can't all be. And who says that? Just because someone said that doesn't mean it's right. Like, so many people have said so many things that have been disproven throughout history. So why are we still taking people's word for it? Okay, so that's the first point, is that it sets you apart, and that means that you're gonna live a life tailored to your peace, to your happiness. Okay, number two is it strengthens self-trust. Okay, to me, this is the most fundamental aspect to growth. Okay, every time I honor my real emotions, thoughts, desires, it reinforces self-respect. And the biggest thing we study in psychology is human behavior. We study where does it stem from, why do people behave a certain way, etc. And the main thing that I've deduced is that the brain is pattern-based. It looks for a pattern. The brain is basically programmed to fit a certain routine so that it saves you energy, right? And the irony is that all of us are programmed by external forces. from a young age. So we actually don't know what works for us, because from a young age we've been socialized to go to bed at a certain time, eat at a certain time, go to school, study this, do that. This is how you should follow life, and these are the rules of life. And we actually don't know what our desired programming is. So when you reinforce honoring your authentic self by not being afraid to express yourself, upholding boundaries that actually mean something to you, doing things that feel the best for you without having the need to justify it, valuing your opinion first and foremost rather than someone else's, you slowly start to create a new program for your brain to follow. And at first it will feel uncomfortable, but that's because our brain wants to save us energy. They want us to be comfortable so that it doesn't have to think as much. But when you start a new program and you keep at it and you reinforce it, that new program will become your new comfort. It will become your new routine. So why wouldn't you want to set yourself up for a routine that is beneficial for you? Okay. So the third reason as to why cultivating your authentic self is your greatest asset is because it's so liberating. Oh my gosh. Like the mental distress that has slowly left me because I decided to stay true to myself, okay? It's not only emotionally liberating, but mentally, because the most natural thing I can do is me. I come naturally to myself. You know, I think with evolution and socialization, we often forget that our greatest asset is our instincts. It's our intuition, especially as women. We are so intuitive. We are so emotionally intelligent. We are so instinctive. And that is usually right 99% of the time. Okay. And I found that usually the 1% of the time where it's not, the right answer is because society has decided to contrast our basic instincts. Okay. The only hard part about being your authentic self is how society responds to it. It's how society tries to break you down and counter you expressing your authentic self. And that's why I speak on self-validation, because part of being your authentic self is to stop valuing people's opinion and approval of you over your own. Okay? Because when you recognize that the only person you need to impress and to make happy at the end of the day is you, oh my gosh, the freedom you will feel, because at the end of the day, you are the only constant in your own life. No one is guaranteed, right? Relationships aren't guaranteed. Not even from are we going to fall out? But like I said, people die unexpectedly. So if you're going to place your freedom and your approval on someone that is not constant, that is how your self-image is going to look. It's going to be inconsistent. Okay? It is so emotionally freeing, and it has actually improved my mental health a lot, because I used to struggle with depression and suicidal ideations because I would hold myself to other people's standards, and I would hold myself to other people's expectations, and I would internalize these expectations, and I would be the hardest person on myself. I would be harder on myself than those people that set the expectations, because I have internalized that. And the irony about this is that those people that would set the expectations for me could not even meet those expectations, or couldn't even measure up to their own expectations that they were setting on me. So I had to realize that, oh, that's actually projection. And why should I hold myself to someone else's flawed viewpoints on me? I'm not going to do that. So another reason why cultivating your authentic self is so vital is because it builds resilience, okay? Authentic people are rooted in self-awareness. When you are self-aware, it helps you have an accurate view on your capabilities, your strengths, and also your weaknesses. So when you do that, you're better able to navigate criticism, failure, and rejection. It doesn't hit you on a personal level because you are already aware of it, and you actually welcome criticism. You actually welcome failure because it's important feedback on how you can improve yourself, right? You also have clarity in who you are. So you're able to easily detect BS in terms of deconstructive criticism. You're able to differentiate between projection and constructive criticism, sorry, because you are so aware of your flaws. You identify your flaws first before anyone can point them out, and you either have made the choice to either improve, which if you are working on your flaws, even if someone points them out, you're not going to feel that bad about it because you already were upfront with yourself and you are currently working on it. So if anyone says, oh, well, you're this and this and that, in the back of your head, you're already like, well, I knew that and I'm working on it. So tell me something I don't know, right? Essentially. So I know myself so well that I have no issue standing up for myself, because I know that I'm able to take accountability when I'm wrong because I am self-aware. And taking accountability isn't something scary. It's a chance for me to grow as a person. And it's not easy to instill self-doubts in me, which is the main objective of envious people, let's be real, towards pretty women especially, is they try to instill self-doubt because they don't want you to know your value so that you don't move accordingly. Because a lot of people that try to instill self-doubt in you, they only do that so that you don't recognize how good you are and how much better you are than the circumstances you are currently in. They want you to be in those circumstances and not know any better. So when you cultivate your authentic self, you build that resilience to be able to leave situations that are not serving you very easily, might I add. This was the one thing that I struggled with the most, was leaving situations that were not benefiting me or that stopped serving me to a certain point, because I had the fear of abandonment and I had the desire to be liked. Quite frankly, the more people that dislike you for being your authentic self, that means that you are doing something right. Because when you are your authentic self, if you are a bright person, if you are letting your light shine, that is going to trigger insecure people who have dimmed their light for society. And if anything, it is projection because they feel some type of way because they allowed society to let them dim their lights. So you need to be able to let your light shine, not only for you, but also as living proof for other people that it is okay for them to let their light shine. Otherwise, we're just going to keep perpetuating these cycles. And this is why I actually appreciate Megan Thee Stallion so much, because she did not accept that mold that people were trying to fit her into, like, oh, you're just a twerk rapper, you're untalented, you're uneducated. She built a successful rap career while doing her bachelor's degree, right? And to me, I always felt like, oh, I'm doing too much. Oh, I need to focus on one thing. And with her doing that, she was living proof that no, I can have it all. I can do two things well at the same time. I can devote my energy to two very important things in my. I don't have to sacrifice something that I love to accommodate something else. So this is why it's important to cultivate your authentic self. And I think this is going to be my last point, is if anything, it attracts like-minded individuals. Ever since I started cultivating my authenticity, I repelled narcissists like a plague. Like, I would literally talk to people, and within an hour, they would not like me, even if I didn't do anything wrong. Like, most of the time, I wouldn't do anything wrong. But it's because I was authentic and I was unapologetic about my authenticity. Because this is another thing. You need to be unapologetic about your authentic self. Because that's who you are. That's who you were genetically coded to be. So what can you do about that? And if anything, you're just going to find your tribe. You're going to find your group. Okay? And I've noticed that with people who want to manipulate you, they don't like it when you're authentic, because you're not going to be easily influenced and easily manipulated to fit their standards, to be used by them. You're not going to be used because you're going to feel it in your gut, like, no, I don't like how this is being portrayed. I don't like how I'm being treated. And you're going to say something about it. And you're going to highlight their insecurities, because what people don't realize about narcissistic people is that they build their self-image on lies. They build a persona on who they would like to be, not who they actually are, because they don't actually like who they are. And oh my gosh, if you want to know more about narcissism and NPD, please go watch Dr. Romani. She has taught me so much about narcissistic personality disorder. She was actually my introduction into the psychological world, and she was the one who made me realize, oh, I actually would love to be a psychologist. I love human psychology. So if you want to know more about narcissists, please go watch Dr. Romani. I'll link her channel in the description. But this is why people don't want you to cultivate your authentic self. They want you to be a sheep. They want you to fit their mold so you can serve them, right? If anyone is making you compromise on who you authentically are, it's not for you, it's for them. So just remember that. All right, Pretty Girl alumni, that is it for the lesson. I am so happy to be back. I have been a little MIA because I am starting a new project, a big project, and I can't wait to tell you about it once it actually happens. So that is why I've been a little touch and go with this YouTube channel, but I love this space. I love talking to you. I love interacting with all of you in the comment sections, even the views and the likes. It is so refreshing just to have a like-minded tribe, and I strive to build a community where we can all cultivate our authentic selves. That is my biggest goal, because as an aspiring psychologist, if I would have one philosophy, it's to say that we need to move away from social constructions. Okay? They are the biggest contributors to mental illnesses, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. So please let me know in the comment sections below if you enjoyed this video. What did you take away from it? Like and subscribe if you resonate with content like this, and to see future content from me. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.